Welcome back to another episode of the Rooted Soul podcast series. So, today we are going to be talking about the Hierophant, and I may not be pronouncing it correctly, but the Hierophant is the energy of change. We're dealing with the number five, and the number five is a number that represents change, represents transformation. When you think about this energy, think about the high priestess, which is the number two energy, which has to do with like a higher realm, right, of spiritual understanding. So it's a lot of things that we understand, so they're unseen to the naked eye, but it's a sense of knowing that is brought to us. Think of this energy as the masculine counterpart to the high priestess. So thinking of it in the aspect of now we're taking the feminine, the high priestess, the masculine, the hierophant, and now something is happening here below on earth. The universal law, as above, so below, as below, so above. So it's like now in human form, actually moving about in your life with action, which is connected to our masculine energy, right? Um, so we're actively in our masculine energy as a high priest mode, following the guidance of our high priestess self. So some descriptions of the energy is orderly. And when I say orderly, I don't mean this in this like anal perfectionist way, right? No, I mean it in a way like your life has a sense of order, balance, and harmony, which comes from clarity, which that clarity comes from that knowing, which comes from that high priestess, right? So that's what I mean by orderly. So, because there is order in one's thoughts and motives and the way they move, there is a inner and understanding of values. You have clear set values that drive your decision making, that drive your emotions, or help you manage your emotions. And these values again are are implemented in action mode in the high priest energy here on earth, but it is also from the downloads that you have received from your high priestess. Spiritual wisdom. You walk in this spiritual wisdom, which helps guide you in your values, right? Values are not something that are permanent, values are changeable. And so when we talk about this energy of number five, you are able to adjust and readjust, discard or add as your spiritual wisdom guides you along the way on what values need to be modified, what values need to be disregarded, and what values need to be added. And then another description of energy is traditions. And this word is a word that unfortunately I feel because of the society that we live in can get a negative um, rap because this society has so many traditions that are not in order, balance, and harmony with the origins from where we come as people of color, number one, and number two are so influenced, are impacted by capitalism and all the isms. So when I speak of traditions, I'm talking about something that's more ancient. I'm talking about something that's more ancestral, and it's having that knowing and being able to honor those traditions and how you go about in your day-to-day life. So some descriptions if that energy is blocked would be disorganized. You find yourself just disorganized in thought, disorganized in emotions, disorganized because there's no sense of values, right? So it's like, because there's no sense of values, because there's spiritual unbalancedness, there's just this disorganized in the way like you move, and you can feel it. You can sense it within you, and it may cause agitation and irritability, sadness, shame, confusion, doubt. Like all of these things can come up from that. And then another, so I in that description of disorganized, I went through the other descriptions if the energy is blocked within you. I spoke of no sense of values. I spoke of spiritual unbalance. And then the last one is rebellious. And we all have like this rebellious spirit in us, right? Like, and I say this so often that the American English is just not enough to describe things. And it's something that I mourn that we've lost our language from our origin, our culture origin, because there were more words that could express this expansion of what we're trying to say. So when I say rebellious, because there's this part of us that needs to have like this strong will that no matter what other people say, if your higher self, right, your high priestess, your spirit guides are speaking to you and telling you this is the way you should go, you should do it. So I mean more rebellious, I guess, in contradiction to that, meaning your spirit guides, and for whatever higher universal consciousness that some say God, some Buddha, Krishna, whoever that may be, but they are, that energy entity is giving you guidance and direction. Your ancestors, they're telling you to do something, and you are just being stubborn and bullheaded and saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go the opposite way. That's what I mean by rebellious, is a sign that your energy is blocked. And if there's one thing I know about the ancestors and the spirit guides, they will keep letting you bump your head to learn the lesson. It's our job to pay attention that that's what's happening. Um, So I'll just leave that there. And so that kind of flows into the zodiac correspondent, because the zodiac correspondent for this energy is Taurus. And Taurus, it can be known if they are not in balance to be bullheaded and stubborn, and end up blocking because of their rebellious spirit the guidance that their spirit guides are giving them. But when a Taurus is in healthy balance with self, right? Because we talked about number five being the energy of change, they're able to move from their balance of Taurus is Scorpio. And so they're able to move with that. Scorpio brings in change and transformation, right? And so it allows them to reevaluate their values and how they're moving, so that it can be all aligned with their higher self, how they move in their lower self on this physical plane. The planet correspondent is Venus, which I think is such a beautiful energy to be a part of this energy, right? Because Venus brings in the ability to have space for unconditional love and radical acceptance, right? This softness that is needed when we have to work through. Sometimes spiritual guidance and wisdom can be sometimes spiritual guidance that is giving us spiritual wisdom can be difficult and challenging and hard to receive and stomach. And so having this Venus energy plant, the energy of the planet Venus can be very um, beneficial in sweetening some of the hard things that you may have to accept, um, when you are channeling this energy and learning from this energy and growing in this energy. So the element correspondent is Earth. As I was sharing before, this energy is the masculine part of you actively doing the things that the feminine, the high priestess, the soul, that knowing is informing you of what to do. And so the element corresponding is earth. Earth, as you know, is an element that we know is reliable. We know that it is very forgiving, right? Like earth is sturdy, um, earth is grounding. And so this also having this element energy to work with our while you are learning, are growing, are evolving, are enhancing this energy within you can also be very beneficial. So the alchemy practice that is happening is spirituality and practice. It's it is as above, so below. Everything that's being downloaded from above, you are putting into spiritual practice in this physical world. And so that's the alchemy that is happening, because some of us can get a whole lot of spiritual downloads, but we have a difficult time, a challenging time on how to actually, in a practical way, implement it in our lives on this earthly plane. So that's the alchemy practice that is taking place. So some root work or ways of working that we can do to help us in strengthening this energy in us. One is working on our lower chakras. And when I speak of lower chakras, the solar plexus is the gateway. So the solar plexus is the gateway from the to the higher self, and it's the gateway to the lower self. So the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root chakra. Working on those chakras can be very beneficial. In particular, that solar plexus chakra, so that gateway is cleared and things are moving the way they need to be moving. A crystal or gem that can be very beneficial in channeling this energy is the clear quartz. It brings clarity. It aids in spiritual guidance and downloads. Some herbs. Yeah. So first, I'll do the herb lavender. Lavender is a good herb to work with. Its healing properties and calming properties allows you to be in a space so that you can hear, right? Like what actually how things need, so you can hear the spiritual download to get vision. Lavender can be something you can cook with, teas, and also essential oils that you could put in a bath or put on you, or just to inhale. Like you could put them on cotton balls and bring it to work with you and just sniff, breathe it in, breathe it out, in between work or school or whatnot. So I don't know. I guess lemon is a a fruit that can be very beneficial, but also comes in tea form and in essential oil is lemons. Lemons clear the way. Lemons kind of like, um, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Lemons like brighten, alert, can alert your senses, like wake you up. So lemons are something else that can be very beneficial. Ancestral work can be very valuable in even many more than just this one, but in particular when we're talking about this energy, because your ancestors have a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that they learned from when they walked the plains of this earth. And so those lessons didn't leave, they linger in the atmosphere, right? And so doing ancestral work can be very valuable in connecting to that and learning from that to become spiritual wisdom that you are able to incorporate into your day-to-day life. Rituals, rituals, returning back to our origins, right? Our origin spiritual practices, and creating rituals around that, right? Help in aiding in creating traditions in your life. So ritual can be something that can be very valuable in channeling this energy. Sitting in nature, as I was sharing with you earlier, the element that corresponds with this energy is earth. So sitting in nature and letting nature speak to you, silencing yourself and sitting in nature is very profound. The trees will speak, the stones will speak, earth is alive. um, so sitting in nature is one. And then also sitting by the ocean. Sitting by the ocean can be very profound. Water speaks as well. As you know, water is symbolized by our higher self, right? Our seat of intuition, that knowing, the moon, the high priestess, right? And so, sitting by a body of water, or the ocean, a lake, just sitting by a body of water can be very profound. But in addition to that, sitting by specifically by the ocean, like a beach, you can watch how the universe practices boundaries, right? Like the water is not gonna like the water respects the boundaries with Earth. And so that's within itself a lesson that can be learned for us when we talk about this energy, with this energy having to do with order and values and tradition. And so the last thing I want to do in closing is what I do at the end of every episode, is to leave you with an affirmation of alignment. And so the affirmation of alignment for this energy is, I trust my spirit guides. I trust my spirit guides. Your spirit guides know the way, and you can trust what they are sharing with you. I want to thank you again for taking time to listen or watch this podcast series. If you are someone that is in need of additional support as you are learning about these different things, or just refreshing and realizing you may need additional support in helping you in healing these energies in you, please visit our website at www.rootedsoul.net. Until next time, bye bye.